Hello, welcome. I'm Tom Copeland. I'm an attorney, author, and advocate for the business of family childcare. In this video, we're going to talk about whether your home, your business, and your vehicle is properly insured or not. There are real risks of operating a family childcare program out of your home. Injuries to children can happen. Here's an example of an insurance company that paid out $5,000 when an 18-month-old was scratched by a cat. Your property could get damaged. In Minnesota, there was a tornado that destroyed all the household property of a provider. But she didn't have the proper insurance. She only got $2,000 for everything in her home. In Connecticut, there was a lawsuit where a child died of SIDS in a family child care home, and the judge awarded the parent $800,000 because the provider was trained in SIDS, saw the child on her stomach, and did nothing. Car accidents. Another case in Minnesota. Provider gets into a van with 4 children. The van catches fire, and 2 of the children died. She has hundreds of thousands of dollars of claims hanging over her head because she did not have proper vehicle insurance. So this is the bad news. How can we handle this? You can't eliminate all risks associated with your business. It's impossible. But you can manage small risks by establishing, following common sense policies, following your licensing rules, doing what you know you should be doing to keep kids safe. For bigger risks, however, we need the proper insurance, and that's what this video is going to focus on. The 3 types of insurance that we're going to discuss are homeowners insurance, business liability insurance, and vehicle insurance. If you're properly insured with these 3 things, you can rest easy and not lose sleep at night. Homeowners insurance. A typical homeowners insurance policy will cover the house, replacing the house. There's a fire, there's a flood, it's damaged, you need it replaced. That's what the homeowners insurance is about. In addition, it covers the property in your home, the contents, all your furniture, your clothing, your personal items, as well as your business stuff, everything that you brought into the home, contents. And lastly, a typical policy will cover for some limited personal liability. So a neighbor comes over and falls off your deck, breaks their arm, have some medical expenses, your homeowner's insurance pays for that. So this is typical. Now, once you start caring for children, your existing homeowner's policy may restrict or even deny coverage. In other words, the policy may no longer cover damage to your home. Your policy might say, no business is covered, or family child care only covered up to 4 children. So if you've got 5 children in that kind of policy and your house burns down, you're going to get nothing. That's not real common, but it does exist in some cases. Contents. This is very common, where the insurance policy will say only $2,000 worth of business property is covered. Wow. Well, what is business property? It's not what I think it is. It's not what you think it is. It's what the insurance company thinks it is. And in some cases, insurance companies will say, well, property that's ever used in a business is business property, and you only get $2,000 of coverage. Your homeowner's policy will definitely not cover you for injuries caused during your business hours. So a child falls off the deck during business hours and breaks their arm, your homeowners is not going to cover them. Now, many providers are not aware of the possible restrictions that their existing homeowners policy has. Your homeowner's insurance agent may not be discussing this with you. The policy coverage may change over the years, and you may not be aware of any changes. So what are you going to do? There's no substitute. You got to talk to your homeowner's insurance agent and say, I'm a family child care provider. I'm caring for 5, 10, 12, however many kids, or what your license capacity is, and say, I want to make sure my house is covered. I want to make sure the contents of my home are covered. Am I covered? And if the agent says, yes, you're covered, you would say, terrific. Put it in writing. You need it in writing. Some insurance policies will say, well, your business property is not covered, but we can sell you what's called business property insurance, which will cover your business property. And the cost of that additional policy is usually very inexpensive. Now, if you're a renter, you need to make sure your renter's insurance covers all the stuff, your furniture, whatever you got, business, personal, whatever you got, you want to make sure it's all covered. So the same thing, you need to see it in writing. Business liability insurance. In my opinion, you shouldn't be operating your business without adequate business liability insurance. As I've seen early on here, the risks are real. And this is where the major problem can be, a lawsuit. You know, child gets injured, child gets seriously injured. Parent doesn't want to try to get coverage through their medical insurance, and they're going to sue you because the child will never be a baseball star. They're going to sue you for $500,000, $1 million. Telling parents you don't have the insurance doesn't mean you're protected. It doesn't mean the parent can't still sue you. So, you need a policy. In simple terms, what are the main things the policy should cover? It should be a professional liability policy, not just general liability. In other words, if you fail to adequately supervise a child, you fall asleep on the couch and the child runs into the street and gets hit by a car, that's failure to supervise. So you want to make sure your policy is professional liability. You want legal defense in excess of policy limits. What does that mean? Parent sues you. You contact your insurance company. They will hire a lawyer to defend you. They will then talk to the parent's lawyer. They try to work it out. They may have a settlement. May have to go to court. In the end, it's settled. And your policy is either paying out a little bit of money, a lot of money, or no money. But at the end of the day, that lawyer needs to be paid. You want the insurance company to pay for the lawyer. You don't want the cost of the lawyer to come out of the coverage amounts that I'll mention in a second in your policy. Child abuse. You want to make sure there's some coverage for accusations of child abuse, not only against you, but against any family member of yours. Accidental medical. Child falls down, breaks their arm, goes to the emergency room. It's $4,000, $5,000 bill. Many policies will just say, all right, provider, tell the parent to send us the bill. We'll pay it right away. Parent doesn't have to sue us. We're going to pay it right away. Accidents away from home. Not all policies will cover you if you're at the park and a child falls down and breaks their arm. So make sure it covers for accidents away from your home. How much insurance should you get? Well, the simple answer is as much as you can afford, because any insurance, no matter how small, is better than nothing. Now, there's two kinds of coverage that every policy will have. An occurrence coverage. So I would recommend $1 million per occurrence. That means coverage for each incident. One child falls off a swing set, that's an occurrence. Two children fall off a swing set at the same time, that's an occurrence. The second kind of coverage every policy will have is called aggregate. And I would recommend $2 million of coverage here. This aggregate coverage means how much will the policy pay out over its life, meaning a year. So you might have 2 or 3 incidents throughout the year, but in the end, the total amount that the policy is going to pay would be, in this example, $2 million. So I recommend $1 million, $2 million. The difference in cost between a lower amount, $300,000 aggregate, and $2 million aggregate is probably very small, depending on what state you live in. Probably not much more than about an extra $100 or so, maybe a little bit more. But for $100 or so to get an extra 1 million plus of insurance coverage is cheap, cheap, cheap. Vehicle insurance. Transporting children is a major, major financial risk. Property damage, lawsuits, medical expenses. So you want to protect yourself. To do this, you got to talk to your insurance agent and say, here's how I use my vehicle for my business. I transport children every day, once a week, once a month, only in the summer, never. I also go to the bank once a week. I go to the library twice a month. I go to Costco. I go to Target. I go to wherever. Am I covered in all of these situations? Your agent will say either, well, we think you're only using your vehicle occasionally for business. And if that's the case, they may say, you don't need any more insurance. If they say you're using it regularly for your business, then they're going to say, well, you need commercial insurance, which is going to cost more. Or they might say, well, we don't even cover people who use their car regularly for business. If you're transporting children on any kind of regular basis, it's highly likely that you're going to need commercial insurance. Now, some providers who find this out say, you know what, it's too expensive for me to get this insurance. And so whenever I transport children, I'm going to hire a transportation company, a van company, a bus company, and let them pay for the insurance. And that's a way of getting around worrying about the cost of vehicle insurance. Again, the company says you're covered, you want to get it in writing. You want to get it in writing. If you don't get insurance coverage in writing, you should assume you're not covered. And you don't want to put your head in the sand and say, oh, well, maybe if I don't tell my agent, I'm okay. No. You don't want to find out when there's some disaster, a fire, a flood, a lawsuit, a car accident, that, oh, you're not covered. You never want to get in a vehicle with children without knowing that you have adequate car insurance and you see it in writing. A couple other issues. You never want to charge parents to transport children. $10 transportation fee to go to the museum or the park or something. No, no. If you do that, you're going to need a commercial driver's license. And that's going to create a lot of other problems. So no, just include whatever you think is a fair cost for transporting kids. Just that's part of your regular fee. Now, if a parent is transporting other daycare children in their vehicle, their insurance will cover transporting the child. And so if two parents are transporting kids along with you to get the kids to the park, it's not going to be a problem with their insurance because they're not in the business of transporting kids. But you want to make sure if those parents are transporting some of your daycare kids that they have insurance. And obviously, parent permission. Everybody needs to sign off that, yes, my child's going into your car, that's okay. That's it. That's what I want to say. You can manage the risks, and some of them are big risks, associated with caring for children by getting adequate insurance. Now, nobody likes buying insurance. It's not an exciting thing to do. But you need to pay attention if you haven't already done this. Talk to your insurance agent. Make sure you're covered. Tell them what your situation is and get it in writing. And you got to have business liability insurance to protect yourself in the case of a lawsuit. I've written a book, Family Child Care Legal and Insurance Guide, that goes into this and many other issues in detail. I have an insurance directory on my website where you might find an insurance agent in your state that will provide coverage. My book is available through Red Leaf Press. If you have questions after this, you can contact me with your questions. And I don't charge anything for answering them. Here's my email. Your question might be answered on my website, tomcopelandblog.com, where I posted many, many articles on insurance, legal issues, other matters that can help you protect yourself and your business. So good luck with that. Now, I'm not providing you with legal advice or other professional advice as part of this video. If you need professional assistance, you should seek it out. This video was funded by the Child Care Communications Management Center, which is funded by the Office of Child Care, the Administration for Children and Families, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and was developed in partnership with the National Center on Early Childhood Quality Assurance, which is funded by OCC, the Office of Head Start, ACF, HHS. This resource can be duplicated for non-commercial use without permission. Thank you very much for listening.